So we're in the car driving around the back roads of the jungles of Quintana Roo, and I have another site that just really re-emphasizes how the Maya world is like a pincushion in the jungle. If you look off in this area, there's an entire plaza of ancient Maya structures that have never been excavated. They probably don't have a name. They've never been officially charted or mapped before. So I'm flying my drone right now over a Maya plaza that's completely been grown over the last 1,500 years. Hopefully we can get some good footage of it.
It's impossible to realize just how much we don't know about the ancient world until you're out there standing on the fringes of modern civilization, peering off into the jungle at ruins of huge cities only inhabited by the birds and snakes for nearly 2,000 years. I understood this feeling the first time I walked through the outer ruins of Palenque, a city made up of over 1,000 buildings with only 15 to 20 fully excavated and on display for the public. But it was really driving through the back roads of Quintana Roo near the ancient city of Zibanche that I got the overwhelming sense of just how much there is left to discover.
So right now, about to get some footage of these covered ruins. I don't think an aerial shot like this has ever been taken before.
I was just looking out the window during our 2 to 3 hour drive, and as we got further and further away from the modern city, I began to notice, oh, there's a pyramid in that field, and another one, and there's another one, and another one, and another one. This went on for hours, and the deeper we ventured into the remote backwoods of Mexico, the more common these untouched pyramids were. As we began getting closer to Zibanche, I saw out of the left side of our car a small city sitting in the middle of a field right by the road.
So I'm about to fly my drone and take some photos and videos of this area to document for you guys. I don't think it's ever been named, ever been documented before. It's just sitting on current day Maya farmland. Very likely the people who tend these fields are the descendants of the ancient Maya themselves who once lived here.
The structures at this site I estimated ranged anywhere from 15 to 40 feet tall, the lower house mounds being around 15 feet, and the larger main pyramid being somewhere around 40 feet tall, I would estimate. It was complete with multiple house mounds, a large pyramid, and a central plaza in the middle. The farmland it sits on is probably owned by the descendants whose ancestors built these ancient structures, still raising maize and other staple Maya crops 2,000 years later. In fact, the earliest dates of this small city, as well as the surrounding area, may date back over 4,000 years, as the earliest evidence of habitation of the area around Zibanche goes back to the early pre-classic period of 2000 BC or earlier.
The Maya world was one of the most densely populated areas of all of the ancient Americas. It had 3 times the population of medieval Europe during medieval Europe's heyday. And this is just a really good example of that. This is very likely, the structures are so large. This one over here it has a giant tree growing down the middle of it. Likely the roots grow all the way from the top, or they've grown all the way from the bottom up through the top, sprouted a tree on top. It's just another example of the immense population that is in the Maya world, of which most people have no idea of. So we were driving down the road. I had to immediately stop us, look out the right side window, and I see this enormous pyramid behind me. No name, it's not documented, it's not listed on any charts or maps, never been mapped before, never even been excavated. I guarantee you this is a generational temple that's been here for well over 1,000 years. Probably some kind of lords, maybe a king buried inside of this, potentially a temple up top. It's just another example of the insane population throughout the Maya world, and just how many lost cities are left to be discovered, documented, officially located, officially charted, mapped. We have to learn everything that we can about the ancient world, and the age of exploration is not over like so many people say. This is 100% proof of that.
Unfortunately, without the permission of the local Maya owners of this land, I did not want to jump the fence and explore these ruins on foot, although that's something that I would love to come back in the future and do. The important thing about dealing with many of these ancient cultures in the Americas is that these are living cultures today. And there are many millions of people still participating in these ancient American practices today. The Maya are still around and they still worship many of the same gods that the ancient Maya did, especially Chak, the rain god. A few months ago, I actually witnessed a ceremony deep in the jungles of the Yucatan where a Maya elder prayed to the rain god Chak. And sure enough, it started raining about 15 minutes later. I honestly have no idea how you explain that. But unlike the cultures of ancient Egypt, Persia, or Greece and Rome, of which these cultures are almost extinct, many of the cultures of the ancient Americas, such as the Aztecs, the Maya, the Zapotecs, the Mixtecs, and so many of the Mississippian cultures, as well as the Inca and Tiwanaku cultures of South America, plus who knows how many others. These people are still around today in the millions. And when you're operating in these areas, it's especially important to be mindful of that. Now, this type of city layout involving the U-shaped square plazas with long-range structures, house mounds, and a principal larger pyramid is a city shape that can be seen from the northernmost sites of Mesoamerica, creeping all the way up into modern-day Texas and the American Southwest, to as far south as Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru in South America. Even recently, new LiDAR scans in the Ecuadorian jungles have revealed thousands of city layouts with plazas almost identical to this one. And just like looking at the evidence of widespread trade into the very early days of the Bronze Age, I think that the ancient Americas were much more widely connected than we currently give them credit for. A simple example of this would be the gold treasures found in Tomb 7 at Monte Alban, a Zapotec city in modern-day Oaxaca. This tomb was filled with gold artifacts that are clearly either traded from or inspired by trade with the El Dorado cultures of South America. Now, I use the term El Dorado pretty loosely here, but you get what I mean. But even today, a cultural connection between these areas of the Americas is not officially acknowledged or even heavily considered, which I don't really understand. I mean, you would think that discoveries like that linking two distant cultures together would be something that's groundbreaking, or at least something that archaeologists would be excited about. But in the Zapotec world, at least, you don't really see specifically the excitement of perhaps the Zapotecs were wealthy enough to have established trade networks all the way down to South America. The only plausible explanation that I can see is if you end up concluding that the culture that you're studying, the Zapotecs in general, were actually in contact with cultures in South America and perhaps owned artifacts that come from South America, perhaps through some way of litigation that is opening up the door to South American archaeologists having the right to have a say or dominion over the archaeological site that you're working at. So because of modern day politics, the best thing to do is just ignore that. I've seen that at one archaeological site in particular in Veracruz, and I have heard that a very similar thing is going on at the site of Tiwanaku and Pumapunku, which are really just the same archaeological site. Anyways, I say all that to say that sometimes when I'm driving or traveling between two Maya cities that are sort of in the same area, including this small site near Zibanche, I could give it its own name and treat it like it's its own unique archaeological site with its own identity, but in reality, it's probably just an offshoot of the main city of Zibanche, as the pyramids and other ancient structures in the entire surrounding area just crawl out in this huge web for miles and miles and miles. The ancient Americas are a gigantic web of ancient cities that fade and blend into each other. And just to prove this point, in the next video we'll be exploring a lost city that has not been touched by anybody but looters. That's about a 45-minute drive north of Calakmul into the jungle. And this city was full of about 16 to 18 gigantic pyramids that I think is still within the city boundaries of Calakmul itself, as during this whole 45-minute drive north, I saw nothing but pyramid after pyramid after pyramid after pyramid in the jungle, leading all the way up to this city that we came across. It's been a real pleasure to premiere this series, Jungle of Stone, to you guys. I had the best time filming it, and I hope that this series has shown you that the age of exploration is far from over. I'm Luke Caverns. If you like these videos diving into ancient lost cities and civilizations and ancient mysteries, well then please like and subscribe for more, as that's all you really have to do to help out the channel. I'm hoping to take this from part-time to full-time this year, and I can't do anything without your help. So we'll see you next time.